To me, the way I look at it is this, if all languages, for me, are very wonderful human creations, human achievement, whether it's English, Gujarati, Swahili, Kikuyu, wonderful languages. But the problem has been in a system of oppression and aggression. The languages and cultures are seen as a hierarchy. Some languages say, oh, we are better than another, we are better than that language, or this culture is better than higher, not even better, higher. So it's in terms of hierarchy of power relationship between languages. That's what, not language, a particular language per se.
Right, but the way, but I wondered, whether, that, as you know, the great African writer Chinua Achebe took a very different view. He suggested that it wasn't quite the case that you put, but also Ngozi Adichie, a younger Nigerian writer, she says, English is my language. She's taken over English. And I just wondered whether your views of this were very much of that time, of the 50s and 60s.
No.
And the younger African writers take a different view.
English is not an African language, full stop. One can say we adapt it and so on. In Nigeria, there's Yoruba, there's Igbo, in Kenya, there's Kikuyu, there's Luo.
Indeed.
We have genuine African languages.
But Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, just to quote her, she says, English is mine. I have taken ownership of English. So she's kind of decolonized herself in a different way, hasn't she?
She's part of the metaphysical empire. That's the whole point.
But she's still colonized.
No. Metaphysical empire is when people now begin to claim, oh, this space is really, mine and so on. And that does not mean that what she does with English and what my son Mokomango does with English is wonderful. I've no doubt that what they're doing with the English language, but they are contributing. But we should not deceive ourselves. When we do that, we are contributing to the expansion and deepening of English language, not Yoruba or Kikuyu or Kiswahili and so on.
But there's a couple of points to that. One is you translate your own works into English. So isn't that contributing to...
No.
Because you could get somebody else to do it.
Because translation is a very, very important process, how languages and cultures, communicate, okay? Look at the contribution of translations to the rise of European literatures and languages. From Latin. Remember in the 17th century, translation was very important to the rise of European languages.
But for you...
Even Shakespeare could not have happened in the context of translation.
But Kikuyu is, for all its strengths and for all its importance in culture, means that you've got a very, very limited market of people who will ever read your work. Whereas if you translate into English, you can be read broadly around the world. And you do it yourself rather than get somebody else to do it.
It's a fallacy. I mean, there's a notion that you write in English, you get... what I'm trying to say is this. You can write in Zulu, and the work can be translated into English, into French, and so on. Let me ask you this. And the question I always ask people is this, can you or anybody else imagine French literature in Zulu? Where you say, oh, this is French literature, but really it's written in Zulu, Or where, do you know what's happening right now? There are very many prizes right now given to African literature. But do you know the condition?
Written in English.
They don't write in... We're going to promote African literature on condition that you don't use an African language.
Right.
This is crazy.
Okay.
Honestly, it's impossible.
Let's talk a little bit
Can you think of English literature in Chinese? You say, oh, we are promoting English literature, but it must be written in Chinese.
But I can think of Robert Burns, who writes an Old Scottish, which nobody reads because it's not written in the English most people understand. But let's move on to Kenya now and how you think of the country. I mean, do you think after all these struggles, the struggles that your family went through and so on, the country's a disappointment?
Not really. The way I look at it is look at where Kenya, where Africa has come from. Really. And when we think of where Africa, whether Kenya or other parts of Africa, we have gone through the depth from which we have come. You know, if you think how much Africa, the entire African resources, entire human bodies of Africa have contributed to the making, say, of London, of all the European cities, and so on. You know, it's incredible that we are even where we are.